Freemasons are not the only secret society. There is the Illuminati, Skull and Bones, Club of Rome, the Bilderberg Group, and many more, but we will just take a look at a couple. Since the Freemasons were mentioned first, we may as well begin there. Freemasonry is the oldest, largest, and most widely recognized fraternity in the world. As a fraternal organization, Freemasonry claims to unite men of good character who, though of different religious, ethnic, or social backgrounds, share a belief in the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of mankind. However, membership in Freemasonry is not meant in any way to interfere with an individual's commitment to his faith, family, or occupation. On the surface, this sounds like a great organization to be in. Would you not agree? Conversely, let's take a closer look. There is a direct connection between Freemasonry and the ancient Babylonian mystery religion, from which the ancient pagan religions of Egypt, Persia, Greece, and Rome eventually developed. It also goes back to Nimrod, who the Freemasons view as the true originator of their order. As we have seen, Nimrod was a great Mesopotamian king who founded the city of Babylon and established the first great empire after Noah's flood. He is also the builder of the Tower of Babel. Accordingly, as discussed, Nimrod sought to turn men away from God by setting up a tyrannical government and setting up a new religion. In fact, the new religion centered around Nimrod, and his incestuous wife, and mother, Semiramis, which eventually evolved into Baal worship, from which all the pagan religions of the Middle East and Europe later developed. Interestingly, according to the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, the legend of the craft in the old constitutions, Nimrod is the founder of Masonry. Freemasonry has always identified itself with the first great post-flood rebel against God. Nimrod was a tyrant and a purveyor of false religion. Elements of the religious system which Nimrod helped establish can be found in virtually every major world religion. Once you learn to identify the elements of the ancient Babylonian mystery religion, you quickly recognize that they are virtually everywhere in the modern world. From the very moment that initiates take the oath of Nimrod, Masons are plunged into a very powerful dark world based on the ancient Babylonian mystery religion. The truth is that Freemasonry does not have anything to do with the God of the Bible. Instead, it has everything to do with the New World Order that Nimrod originally wanted and that Lucifer is still attempting to bring into existence today. The Freemasons are divided into two groups, the Scottish Rite and the York Rite. The Scottish Rite has 33 degrees or 33 levels of membership, and the York Rite has 32 degrees, but what does this mean? Well, let's see what Albert Pike had to say, a 33-degree Freemason, Lucifer, the light bearer. Strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. Is it he who bears the light, and with its splendors intolerable blinds feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not. The devil is the personification of atheism or idolatry. For the initiates, this is not a person, but a force, created for good, but which may serve for evil. It is the instrument of liberty or free will. They represent this force, which presides over the physical generation, under the mythological and horned form of the god Pan. Thence came the he-goat of the Sabbath, brother of the ancient serpent, and the light-bearer or phosphor, of which the poets have made the false Lucifer of the legend. The true name of Satan, the Kabbalists say, is Yahweh, God, reversed, for Satan is not a black god, but a negation of God. The Kabbalah imagined him to be a most occult light. That which we must say to a crowd is we worship a God, but it is the God that one adores without superstition. To you, sovereign grand inspectors general, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, would Adonai, whose deeds prove his cruelty, perfidy, and hatred of man, barbarism and repulsion for science, would Adonai and his priests calumniate him? Yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately Adonai is also God. For the eternal law is that there is no light without shade, no beauty without ugliness, no white without black, for the Absolute can only exist as two gods, darkness being necessary to the statue, and the brake to the locomotive. Thus, the doctrine of Satanism is a heresy, and the true and pure philosophical religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai, but Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil. This sounds like a classic case of bait and switch. Freemasonry is not meant in any way to interfere with an individual's commitment to his faith. Some Masons define it as a beautiful system of morality veiled in metaphors, and illustrated by symbols, also as the realization of God by the practice of brotherhood, to reach God, by doing good works, to your neighbor. It has been described as the biggest, richest, most secret, and most powerful private force in the world, and certainly, the most deceptive, both for the general public, and for the first 3 degrees of initiates, entered apprentice, fellow craft, and master mason, the basic Blue Lodge. Clearly, these initiates are purposely deceived, in believing they know everything, while they don't know anything, about true Freemasonry. In the words of Albert Pike, whose book, Morals and Dogma, is the standard monitor of Masonry, and copies are often presented to the members, the first 3 degrees are but the outer court of the temple. Part of the symbols are displayed there to the initiate, but he is intentionally misled by false interpretations. It is not intended that he shall understand them, but it is intended that he shall imagine he understands them. It is well enough for the mass of those called Masons to imagine that all is contained in the Blue Degrees, Morals and Dogma, page 819. Baptist leaders have referred to it as an ungodly brotherhood of satanic darkness. There is an inherent incompatibility between Masonry and the Christian faith. There is a great danger that the Christian Mason may find himself compromising his allegiance to Jesus. The Baptist Union of Scotland, 1965. The tenets of Masonry are apparently beautiful, and many Masons are good, honest people, deceived in the surface of brotherhood, especially in the first 3-degree Masons, most of them, who, in the words of Pike, already quoted, they are intentionally misled by false interpretations. The main deception here is that with these oaths, you swear to before God, to uphold Masonry, can only be done by sacrificing your Christian commitment. Matthew 6 verse 24 says, "No man can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one, and love the other, or else he will hold to the one, and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon." Most men are lured into Masonry by promises of brotherhood, charity, and advancement in employment, or public life, but, this is all a deception. Brotherhood and employment are nice tools used to enslave Masons into Masonry. When you don't follow the rules of the master, you will have your throat cut, and that's the end of the brotherhood, and the better job. Masonry's main objective is a greater agenda, with a much broader scope. To control jobs, economics, politics, education, government, police, military, banks, communications, and the entertainment industry, all under a cashless controlled society. Freemasonry is proven to worship Satan, as unmistakably stated by Albert Pike. Masonry depicts and glorifies sexuality in many of their symbols, just as you would come to expect any occult group to do. Through a study and examination of the many symbols, clearly proves Freemasonry is satanic.
If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and be sure to share.